So basically, we moved to Park Slope at around 79, 80. I was 3, 4 years old, maybe about to be 5 years old soon, or something like that. But of course, the Park Slope that we know of today is completely a different world from the Park Slope that was existing back in those times. Like this particular block that I lived on right here, St. Mark's between 5th and 4th, this was a war zone. It was drug infested, it was abandoned buildings, the property value was ridiculously lower than this. It was crime, it was mugging, it was killings, it was everything going on that you didn't want to be around and didn't want to live around. And basically we came out of the shelter to here. You understand? So it was like a stepping stone. It was a step up from the shelter. We was tired of living in the shelter with a bunch of people, everybody in our business, so we moved here. And basically when we moved here, this place was so terrible that when we would invite our friends and family over, they would call us from a payphone and say, we can't find the spot. Like all we see is an abandoned building on the block. And we used to tell them, no, that's the spot. Like it looks like an abandoned building, but actually this is where we live, and a couple of the apartments in the building is functioning. A lot of the apartments in the building were abandoned. It was about 2 or 3 apartments that actually worked and was functioning, had lights and electricity and water, and we had one of those. And basically it was an empty lot right next door to us with anything a kid could possibly get hurt on. Dead dogs, dead cats, bottles, bricks, sticks, and anything else you could think of. It was like a wasteland out here. Like it was a completely different Park Slope. You understand? We were scared living out here, me and my mother, because it was dangerous. So one day, me and my mom just coming home from somewhere. I don't remember where we was coming home from, but we was coming down this block, walking towards our apartment, and there was a bunch of dudes standing on the corner, like, you know, 4 dudes or whatever, or black dudes. They probably was in their 20s. And my mom's was in her 20s, you feel what I'm saying? So she walking past, they hollering at her, yo, what's up? What up, yo, what up? Trying to holler at her or whatever. And I don't know, I was young, so I don't know exactly what was said, but she must have said something on the lines of like, I'm good, I got a boyfriend, or whatever. And you know, dudes started talking that fuck your boyfriend shit, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, well, who's your boyfriend? Niggas was like, who's your boyfriend? And she said who her boyfriend was, and niggas started talking all type of crazy shit. We don't give a fuck, know what I mean? That nigga, fuck that nigga. So she said something on the lines of like, look, I don't tell him that, don't tell me that. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So dudes manhood felt challenged or whatever, and the main dude that was talking, I was like, nah, I mean, who your boyfriend? Fuck your boyfriend or whatever. His man started laughing when she was like, you know, tell him that, don't tell me that or whatever. So dudes was amping him up. He pushes my mom's into a row of garbage cans. Like right now, these garbage cans is all plastic garbage cans behind this wall. But at the time, this wall didn't exist, and it just was a bunch of metal garbage cans lined up. And he pushed my mom's into the garbage can, and my mom's fell into the garbage cans and knocked all of the garbage cans over. Floor basically, and all of these dudes was laughing. You understand what I'm saying? I'm standing there, I'm like 4 years old. You feel me? I start crying and shit. You know what I mean? My mom's gets up more worried about me and what I saw than her actually falling, because she wasn't even worried about that. Niggas was all laughing and shit. Niggas ain't getting no points for that. And even at that age, at 4 years old, I remember the feeling of feeling so helpless. You feel what I'm saying? And wanting to help my moms. And I'm like, yo, I was mad that I was a kid. You feel what I'm saying? That I couldn't pop off. Like niggas hitting my moms, throwing my moms on the floor and all type of shit. That shit had me tight. You feel me? Even at a young age, that's like one of my first memories. That's like my second memory. This instance right here, like when dudes pushed my moms into the garbage cans. I remember the sound of them garbage cans clanking together and falling, and she was on the floor and her getting up and dudes laughing. I just remember that shit. You feel what I'm saying? So she ain't argue or beef or whatever. She just went in the house. Dudes was like, yeah, get the fuck in the house, bitch, and all type of crazy shit. So, now I mean, at the time, the dude my moms was messing with, now I mean, son was in the streets heavy. Son was in the streets robbing and stealing and doing the things that he do. You feel what I'm saying? And son always was a thug and had a whole bunch of brothers that was thugs. You feel me? And this dude is dear to my heart too, because my mom's was with him for a long time, and I fuck with him like that. And I mean, that's my heart. You feel me? That was like my second pops. You feel me? And it's like, basically, son came through or whatever, and she told him like, yo, dudes violated me today, pushed me in the garbage cans outside, da da da. He like, what? Say no more. So I ain't hear nothing about that. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I'm a little dude. I went to sleep. I heard little things that was being said. I went to sleep. And later on that night, or maybe it was the night after, I was young, so I don't remember in every detail, but I know it was 3 o'clock in the morning. And I just woke up to hearing a bunch of explosions. Boom, 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 boom. And at the time, I didn't know that was gunshots, but I quickly figured it out that it was gunshots. You understand what I'm saying? And I woke up and I was scared. My mom's probably didn't even hear it because she was in the other room on the other side of the house. I jumped up, I looked out the window. I didn't see nobody down there, nobody on the floor, nothing like that. I just felt the aura of people scattering. And I looked out the window and I was like, what was that? You feel what I'm saying? And then like a couple of days later, the dude, my mom's boyfriend, he was like, yo, I mean, I had mentioned it or something about dudes pushing my moms. He was like, let me ask you a question. Do you see those dudes hanging in front of the building anymore? So I was like, I thought about it. I was like, nah. He kind of smirked and was like, all right then. You understand what I'm saying? So right then and there, even though I was young, I kind of put 2 and 2 together. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Son came through and did what he did. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I don't know the details behind it. I don't know what happened exactly, but I know the block got hit up. You feel what I'm saying? And at a young age, I realized that this is how you handle disrespect, or this is what I thought I knew. This is how you handle disrespect, and this is where you take it to if dudes violate your family, like straight extreme violence. You understand what I'm saying? And at the time I was a kid, so you know, I thought these things were normal. But of course, like, this was just me growing up in Brooklyn in the very early 80s or the late 70s. Like, you understand what I'm saying? So at 4 or 5 years old, I was already like, so basically somebody violate you, you come through and shoot shit up. Alright. This is also the place where I could honestly say this is where I was at when my interest was sparked in hip-hop and rap. Like, I stood in this window right here one day when I was a kid, and on the radio was Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, The Message. I couldn't even comprehend what it was because I had never heard rap. I was young. You understand what I'm saying? All I knew was that beat, that it literally had me hypnotized, where I was stuck just staring out this window looking at my block. Like I said, this block was a war zone. You understand what I'm saying? I just remember standing in this window looking at this block, hearing that song. And even at that age, I knew that shit was deep as a motherfucker, that they was dropping crazy jewels, and I was young and I didn't understand it, but I knew that shit was holy and godly, that song. And that shit just forever changed my life. Just hearing that song on the radio that time when I was a kid, standing in this window with a big afro on, real talk, like. And I didn't even know nothing about life yet, but I knew I had seen a shelter already. I done seen a dude whooping my mom's ass, because that's what got us over here to St. Mark's, is a dude whooping my mom's ass so bad that my mom's had to literally escape out of his house at 4 or 5 in the morning and take me out of there with none of our belongings and just go check ourselves into a shelter, because this dude was beating my mom's ass that he was about to kill her. And I was 3, 4 years old seeing this dude stomping my mom's out in Brooklyn. Like, we was living in, I think at the time we was living in Greenpoint. And then we went to East New York, and then I don't remember, but we lived all around Brooklyn. My mom's is from Williamsburg Projects, the first projects in New York City. That shit's so old, it still got a nuclear fallout shelter. You understand what I'm saying? It was all these projects was inhabited by the Jews. You understand what I'm saying? All these early projects was inhabited by the Jews after World War II. You understand what I'm saying? When the Jews got up and left, we came through. And we started coming through, the Jews got up and left, rather. You understand what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I remember standing in this motherfucking window listening to the message, and that beat had me hypnotized, and I was like, what is it that I'm listening to? Like, what is this? And why is it making me feel this way? You understand what I'm saying? And that's how powerful hip hop is. It's not just some songs on the radio. That shit is a spiritual feeling. That shit changed the path of my life, because I would forever give hip hop my ear now after I heard such a song. A song touched me so much, and I was a kid, a baby. So don't ever think that deep music don't affect kids too. You understand what I'm saying? Because I was a kid and I knew that shit was deep, and I knew that shit needed to be heard by the world. You understand what I'm saying? And that changed the course of my life. And that's what happened when I was on Park Slope between 5th and 4th in Brooklyn in like 1980. From like 78 to 81, then we moved to Brownsville, Brooklyn. When I was a kid, this area was desolate. Of course, the Barclays wasn't there. Just so happens I was living so close to where the Barclays would be. There wasn't shit on this block. Like, I remember a laundromat and a grocery store. That's it. All these restaurants, Artichoke and shit like that. It would have never survived out here back in the days, because there was no money out here. It was nothing but poor black people. You understand what I'm saying? Shit was out of control with the crime. Out of control. Yeah, so we moved from Park Slope to Brownsville, Brooklyn in like around 80, 81, like maybe the summer of 80 or something like that. Like I said, we was living on St. Mark's and Park Slope, where it was terrible around there. Like, shit looked terrible, living conditions, it was disgusting. Like, so we just wanted to get out of there. So we moved to Brownsville, Brooklyn. And at the time, we didn't know anything about Brownsville. Like, my mother was from Williamsburg. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we lived in Park Slope and downtown Brooklyn and stuff like that. I mean, but we really weren't too informed about Brownsville. Like, we knew it was Brooklyn, so Brooklyn is wild at the time. This was the 80s, the early 80s, so Brooklyn was wild regardless, but we had no idea how wild Brownsville was. You understand? So when we moved to Brownsville, we were happy.